What is good, demons? Gavin Newsom and this guy named Matriarch. I don't know anything about him, but they discuss the current climate. They also discuss how the ways we got to look at appealing to the new generation, what the Democrats are lacking to not allow another fascist part of the political environment to take over, the failures of the Democrats, which obviously is a failure if you let Donald Trump win not only once but twice. They talk about that in a more Gen Z, casual gamer culture type way. So, time to react. I do think there's value to this conversation, which is why I'm willing to react to this one.
Stimulus and printing, and that went into tech startups, and that went into esports, and that went into Twitch, and that went into all this stuff. And there was a lot of it floating around. There was, I remember there was the GameStop stock craze, and everyone wanted to find someone to watch on that. And these things became cultural flashpoints that were taking place entirely online. And then after 2021, we started to get inflation. A lot of inflation that made doing things that weren't online more expensive and more difficult. That's combined with COVID. And so these things, I think, combined to push people more into online spaces than perhaps natural law would dictate. I mean, that is what happened. Right. And so it's good and bad. As a content creator, COVID was exposure to an entirely new audience. It grew a lot bigger. But it's not, I wouldn't say it was a good thing for overall. That's not how I'd frame it.
This is the Emirates Premium Economy seat.
I mean, he's right about that. COVID has done a lot to very specific parts of American industry. Like the technocrats obviously benefited a lot from it. Individual content creators and streamers benefited a lot from it. And the rich people, they got richer over COVID. But the average American, I mean, it seems like it was a breaking point for Americans. And we just haven't found a way to kind of readjust properly.
People back in the real.
How I'd frame it.
In what way is it not? I mean, the unhealthy aspects are what? You're trying to get offline so you can get back into a line and reconnect with people back in the real world. I mean, in what way was it?
What I'm saying is I think people want to do that naturally.
Yeah.
They just can't. It is just more difficult. I don't know if we want to get to it now, but I do want to start talking about Gen Z men.
Yeah.
And the issue I'm seeing, not all of them are like this. It's a broad, diverse group, of course, and it's a huge point of my audience. And I'm hearing their thoughts a lot. They range from angry to openly nihilistic, and the nihilism is what I sense growing a little bit, where they're disillusioned. I think around 22, 3, 4, you probably saw this from the political side. They drifted more conservative because they thought that would be the solution.
Right.
And as Donald Trump has proven to be not the answer to any of their problems, and in fact, making a lot of them worse, making the inflation worse, making the economy worse, then they are now just drifting into open nihilism. And that is what I'm saying. And I'm not, to blame that on the methods they're using to try and not be that is crazy. That's not the issue.
So a lot of people did become nihilistic, as I said. It's unfortunate, but if you're stuck inside a place, you're told you're told how to live. I do think there is it's such a multifaceted issue. Is the American society doing enough to create success for the people? No, but it's always been that way to an extent where you make life out of yourself. The issue is that in our current society, people don't know what better living looks like compared to like older societies where they were a little bit more ignorant of prosperity. And when it comes to success and having a good life, it was something as simple as have a family, create your own career, so to speak, have a full job that could pay for the bills. Like, there wasn't anything more grandiose. You weren't really looking towards this larger than life lifestyle consistently. And now I think there is an expectation for every individual to find that. And then the certain grounded, more concrete baseline things that you could assume brings you joy, a job that pays for everything, a family, kids, love, just enjoying things with friends and family, those have diminished. Like, friendly interactions between people happen far more infrequent. The value of family has gone down drastically, and the dating and romance market have been shot, where there's a lot of struggle from men in particular finding a romantic partner, a meaningful connection, and a meaningful relationship. Jobs that are paying for your lifestyle are more difficult, and even that is multifaceted, because it's one, pay is not really equating to the rise in prices and goods that is needed to sustain a lifestyle, but also there is a more things that you have to pay for that is not really being covered. And honestly, the rise in wages should be covering, because you want these goods to be consumed. For example, obviously we got our car, but now we also got streaming services. It was just cable, but now everybody has to have Netflix, they have to have Hulu, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. A phone it's like a mandatory thing. To expect people to not have pay for a phone bill is ridiculous. To pay for an internet bill is ridiculous. So you got those bills. We got rent increasing, so that doesn't help things. And when it comes to food, yes, it's a luxury to have food delivered, but a lot of times people are eating too much fast food, too much delivered food. So all these kind of goods and services, not mentioning video games and people wanting to kind of go party and live their life. Yes, these are luxuries, but these are kind of baseline luxuries. And honestly, you could argue that every person deserves to have that level of joy, because that's how they kind of live life, at least to a full-ish, or at the very least a baseline full extent, if that even's a quantifiable term. People now have to pay for more things. People now have an expectation of a larger lifestyle. People now are constantly consumed by different experiences, perspectives, and lifestyles that they do not have, of people who are quote unquote enjoying their life more. The detachment of grounded reality, and America and its politicians not understanding that is a big issue. So I went on a huge tangent there, but I really think people don't understand how complicated our societal issue is. It's not as simple as put a policy out there. There is a lot of things that need to be take place. And if you want society to get better, one, you have to understand the culture, oral divide, or you have to want the government to be more hands-on, which is also especially the local government. So, all right, let's continue.
It's not the Discord. It's not the, yeah.
Right. No, I appreciate that. And it's, but it does beg sort of the larger consciousness that came out of the Trump campaign as it relates to, you're right, he obviously dominated, particularly with young men, but outperformed in ways that I think surprised a lot of folks.
Yeah.
And invested a lot of time and energy into spaces where a lot of young men were and where a lot of young men are. We talk about podcasts. We talk about this sort of manosphere broadly defined, which is something that needs to be unpacked. But he did invest that time and energy to meet people, quote unquote, where they are. And we didn't see that commensurate investment from the Democratic Party. Certainly didn't see it from Biden or Harris.
We're not really seeing it now. Outside, I think I appreciate what you're doing here, and I like this podcast is a good step. But I saw a piece from Ezra Klein the other day where he talked about how it seems like, and again, I'm going to be candid here, it seems like the DNC as a whole is trying to run a very similar playbook that didn't work and is wondering why they're not getting different results. Yeah. It is shocking to me that with as bad as Trump is doing, and it really is. Again, I if I want to be your Gen Z whisperer for a second, again, I'm millennial, I'm 34. They're going to call me old, my hairline's bad.
You're
call me old bald.
Trust me.
But
old man.
They are turning on Donald Trump in a way that will come apparent pretty soon. But they're not turning towards the Democratic Party.
That's the difference. Yeah.
Yeah, they're equally as upset with them, which is what I think the problem is. And it's kind of crazy that it's not being capitalized on more. And I will give you credit. I think what you have been doing is kind of breaking through the noise. It's showing a little bit of, I don't know, a spine of like a willingness to stand up to what he's doing. But, if I can be honest, all right, here's what I'll say. And you haven't announced anything, and this is not, but
no.
There's a theoretical world where you're going to run for president. I'm just going to say it. Matt, you don't say anything. I'm okay.
This is a virtual world. Yeah.
Virtual world.
Right,
Maybe
right.
The betting markets have you leading. Okay. There's a theoretical world. And if I can get somebody who's not militarizing the National Guard and someone who's not shutting down TV shows that disagree with them and someone who's not threatening free and fair elections, that's a huge win already. It's a low bar to clear. It's an easy clear.
Pretty low bar, but I get it. Yeah.
But, realistically, from the audience that I'm talking about, because again, I think I got lucky. I got the last chapter out of Nam. I'm feeling fine. They can't go back to the status quo, Gavin. They just can't. They will continue to grow more upset and populist and nihilistic unless things seriously change. Like they have to change on a more fundamental level.
Look, okay. So let's start to unpack this because I love the clarity as you painted this picture.
Okay.
I mean, it's
I do respect Gavin Newsom for being willing to have these type of conversations with people. I do that on my podcast. It's just like when he was being a little bit too passive to people like Charlie Kirk, and I'm definitely just not going to watch the one with Steve Bannon. It definitely had me concerned, but to see how he's been reacting ever since then, where he's much more on the attack, which is what we wanted to see. Like, you can have an open conversation, but do not allow MAGA to paint the narratives. These guys are not good actors. With that said, being open and listening is very important for the Democrats, and being willing to look like you're trying to make a difference is also very important. I will say, to kind of look at it on a broad brush, it's hard for the Democratic Party to get a leg because they don't know what direction they want to go in. And I say it all the time. I think the direction is pretty clear that when it comes down to what you're advocating for, you have to stay 10 toes in things that are appealing to the American people, not a subsection. And that's just the truth of it. Always be open to all the minority groups, but do not capitulate to a minority group. I think that's also very important. And what I mean by that is sometimes they are not, like, especially back in the day, they weren't willing to kind of like dismiss some of the more far left ideology playing into like the kind of wokish culture. And some of it is really good, like advocate for LGBTQ rights, W. Advocate for trans rights, W. Advocate for more opportunity for minorities in America, W. But also be more cutthroat. You don't need to be nice. You also have to make sure that you are appealing to the majority of the base in America, which is white people, especially white men. And these white men have capitulated to Donald Trump for the most part, right? So you can't forget them. You have to look at solving the poor issue. The poor issue is something that can affect all of Americans. Just the social culture stuff is a fraction of what people really care about in America. Fixing the wealth disparity gap, fixing health insurance, fixing the housing crisis. They don't have their hand on the ball and like things that people really care about. So that's the problem. They hear the larger chatter, and even with this Israel-Palestine stuff, I mean, you don't have to go as far as go like super left and kind of play the game where Israel is bad right from the beginning. But you can go condemn Hamas, say what they did, it was a terrorist and terrible action, of course, and we understand Israel's reaction. But as of right now, Israel has gone too far, and Israel needs to be held accountable for their aggression. You can. It's not playing both sides. It's being honest and really being realistic too. So the Democrats need to pick a lane. And I think they're finding that identity. I think Gavin Newsom is particular is finding that identity of like picking a lane. And that'll be very important for them moving forward. Be a president for Americans. You don't need to be a president for a subsection of America.
Pretty black and white terms as you painted. I mean, just like this notion of nihilism, of just like not giving a shit about anything and blowing the whole goddamn thing up.
And then the most extreme example would be someone like Tyler Robinson. If you look at his, and again, I'm not a psychoanalyst, I'm not an expert, but there seems to be a nihilism to these kind of actions, and from young people in general that is rising, where it just feels like if I can't get a house, if you're a young man, I can't get a partner, I can't find a way to feel roots in the society that I'm in, then I'm going to drift out of it. I'm going to disengage. And they would find any tool to do this. In fact, I would say that one of the healthiest things they can do is gaming and Discord, because that's with other people. They are finding friends. The Discord chats that I'm in are not making me more radicalized. I'm connecting with people all over the world. It's great.
To an extent. I mean, a lot of people, when they feel disenfranchised and disconnected, can fall into certain ideologies that turn them extreme too. Like, for example, like the manosphere red pill, a lot of those dudes who were kind of like lonely and pathetic, they ended up going towards Andrew Tate, who Andrew Tate is one of like a despicable human being. So there's a carefulness to this type of stuff. One thing you can say for certain, though, is that these people need community. Humans are social creatures. So gaming and Discord, like, these are good outlets, but that's only filling you up like a partial percentage. And also, internet people can't be your full life, right? You really have to be able to get out there and experience life to the fullest, which is hard because, as you mentioned, can't afford anything, don't have a house. A lot of things are more remote. People are inside all the time. It's tough. It is.
In fact, here's an example. I don't know if you've heard about what happened in Nepal recently.
Of course. No, remarkable with Instagram.
Yeah. So Nepal, their Gen Z youth was deeply upset about rising youth unemployment, rising poverty. And they were posting about it on social media and they were getting angry. Then the government tried to ban social media. And that's when they took to the streets. That's when they're rioting. That's when they're going crazy, because these are the last outlets people have. So I just want to give that perspective here, is that if Congress is going to haul Discord and Twitch and Reddit up there and think that restricting them or banning them is going to solve this problem, it is not. I'd be so clear. It is not. It's going to make it more virulent.
Look, I think what you're saying is profoundly important. And I'm not trying to go back, but I want to paint this picture because I want to land.
Yeah, I'll hear from your pivot too.
Exactly where you're going, because I think what you're saying is it needs to be said, because there were these trend lines that predate all of this.
Yes.
For decades and decades. And we have the first generation, this Gen Z, that literally is poised to do much worse than their parents' generation.
Yes.
This is the first generation in our lifetime, my lifetime certainly, but literally in American history where that would be the case. And so this is code red, and it's led to suicides, it's led to dropouts, it's led to all kinds of related issues. And there's guys are screaming disproportionately, men in some respects, and no one's paying any damn attention. And now we're looking at things, and I love what you're saying. We're looking at the platforms and not the underlying damn issues.
Yeah, a couple stats. Oh, sorry.
No, but I want to get to, and I want you to hold those stats because I think they're incredibly important. But I want to go back just because so many people want to understand, and these are not root causes, but they're component parts of this larger conversation. We talk about the manosphere. What does that mean to you? I mean, what is it? This
is the investment that I think Trump and the Republicans made into spaces that are not even inherently political. They are spaces where people are talking about wrestling or UFC or video games or just finding connection often with other men and just trying to understand similar experiences in the world. And they invested in those spaces. And then, hey, on the side, you like this? Also on the side, let's stop the woke mind virus. Or, what? It would be something like that. It would be, Kamala Harris is not going to help you out. That's the idea. And they would mix that in with things people already like. And it became very easy to slide in. And what's crazy, I don't think it's that hard for the Democrats to join these spaces. Most people like watching sports. Most people it's not rocket science. And I think, again, I can't overstate how it feels like a ball somewhere is being dropped when you can't speak even semi-authentically to people they're not from a different world. They're not that crazy.
Right.
So that's a problem that I would point out.
I think I'm going to end the video here. Go feel free to watch the full thing on your own. There's a lot of very interesting points being made into this podcast episode. I just don't have time to react to the full thing. I'll say this to wrap it up. Democrats, as of right now, they have a unprecedented opportunity to appeal to America as a whole. And Joe Biden actually did that, but he was on a losing battle, mainly because MAGA has already started painting a narrative. And even though Joe Biden tried to make it seem like he's for America, MAGA already had their teeth sunk since Donald Trump. The moment Donald Trump took over, he took a base. And as of right now, Democrats, Donald Trump is a terrible person. It's very obvious he's a corrupt politician. He does weird things with his family. He does weird things with underage women. And obviously our international influence has been in the mud. Right now, you can reach out to the average day American. You can appeal to them. You can provide them the things that they deserve as an American, as their right. But you have to seem like not only are you anti-Trump, because obviously that's very important. Do not let MAGA control and turn our country into a fascist regime. But also you have to seem like you're there to help Americans. Fight back, but be there to help Americans. It has to be both. That's all I got. I hope you guys enjoyed. You have a good one. Take care. Like and subscribe. Peace.